voices blending, melodies ascending, harmony in the air. Our songs are never ending. In the barbershop we create magic. Brad and John show, yeah, it's pure classic. No instruments needed, just our vocal range. Notes flying high, it's our musical exchange. Tracy's station may try, but they can't compete. Our barbershop style, it can't be beat. Oh, the harmony of voices, so sweet. In the barbershop of life, our tunes will repeat. No need for instruments, no need for a band. Just the Brad and John show, the finest in the land.
Ah, yes. It must be Friday, huh, John Combest? Is it Friday?
I think so, and it's a beautiful sunny day here in the Westplex, right, Brad?
Well, just wait about 10 minutes, it'll rain. Just like yesterday. I know you think I do weird stuff, but I got a Amazon delivered some new weed killer to me, which I'm going to try another brand called, I tried to order Bear Spot, but I can't get Bear Spot. I ordered another thing. What is it, from Ortho? It's called Ground Clear or something like that. And I checked the weather. It rained yesterday morning. Checked the weather. It's supposed to not rain at all yesterday afternoon to the evening. So I went on 3 different locations, sprayed my stuff, and about an hour later, it rained in all 3 places. So
no, that happens, Brad. You got to check the radar. You got to get one of those then their weather forecasts. I hear that somebody has set up a number of very hyper-local websites where you can sponsor weather reports. Is that true, Brad?
It is true, John. WestplexWeather.com and OmoWeather.com and Wentzville.us. You can get the weather forecast there. But that's not important, because what is important is you, John. You are the man of the hour, because John, his name, last name Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T, ironically, or incidentally, whichever way you want to look at it, he has a website by that same name, johncombest.com. And if you go in and type in that name, you'll get not a web 3.0 or a 2.0 or 1.0, you'll get a web what, John?
0.0.
That's the version of the web design that John uses. It's very basic, but it's very functional. I like it. And you go there, and there's dozens of things there. But what we do is we bring in this guy on Friday morning. Oh, hold on a minute. We got to do this. We bring in these guys first.
Time for the John Combest Top 3.
And then we bring in this guy right here.
I'm Casey Kasem.
And what do you do, Casey?
Now on with the countdown.
And what do you do also?
And here they are.
And how you do this?
We're on our way to the number one. In third place.
I'm going to throw you a curveball this Friday morning, Brad. Yeah, big old swooping Uncle Charlie curveball. And bring you a story at number 3 that's not on johncombest.com. You won't find it there today. It has to do with county politics right here in the Westplex. And it's brought to us by the Missouri Times Whispering Gallery. If you want to subscribe to that, you can email Jake at MissouriTimes.com. That's Jake at MissouriTimes.com. He reports on a fundraiser held in St. Charles County, a gentleman named Jason Law. We've discussed him before, Brad. He's running for St. Charles County Executive against friends of the show, Mike Elam and Bill Eigel. Here's what Jake reports. The Jason Law campaign had some big hitters on hand at its fundraiser. Over 140 supporters contributed just over $41,000. The host, Andy Patel, led donors with $25K. And his special guests, Congressman Bob Onder and AG Andrew Bailey, helped bring in a crowd. Other host committee members included Bob Brinkman and Mark and Viviana Mueller. So, Brad, if I had to guess, Jake doesn't mention the location here. The Patels, as I've learned, owned Westport Social. So maybe Jason Law had this at one of those Westport Social locations. Excuse me, I said Westport. Sorry. Dogwood Social, not Westport Social. So maybe they had it at Dogwood Social out there in O'Fallon. Don't know exactly where it was. But, I think what's interesting, Brad, and would probably catch people's eye, is to have two high-profile guys like Congressman Bob Onder and AG Andrew Bailey at a county executive fundraiser.
I thought Bob Onder was in the camp for Bill Eigel. No?
So, Brad, this is an interesting thing, and I think that it's going to show a difference between how amateurs might look at this and how professionals might look at it. Yeah, I would assume that Bob Onder and Bill Eigel are close. But, if you're a top-level elected official like Bob Onder, and someone is having a high-profile event in your district, even in a competitive primary, professionals stop by and go to multiple events. So Bob Onder going to a Jason Law event does not mean that he's endorsing Jason Law. Bob Onder going to a Bill Eigel event doesn't mean that he's endorsing Bill Eigel. It means that he showed up at the fundraiser, said hi to some friends, wished Mr. Law the best of luck, and probably went on his way. Now, I can't speak for Bob Onder on the political side and on the policy side or anything, but Brad, professionals know that top tier people go to multiple events and say hi to their friends.
Well, the way you phrase that, you say just because Bob Onder shows up at a Jason Law event doesn't mean he's for Jason Law. But there's a parallel to that when Brad Hildebrand shows up at a Bill Eigel fundraiser and gets kicked out, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's not going to vote for Bill. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly true. But then again, let me catch you in something, Brad. You don't vote, do you?
I don't, not anymore.
Yeah, so you know that your vote actually doesn't count, which is very big of you to do. I know you do it for other reasons, but I'm just being cynical. Let's get back to the main story real quick. This is a lot of money, and we've seen over a period of time that Mr. Law has been able to accumulate a war chest. I don't have the latest numbers in front of me right now, Brad, but we know that Mr. Law will certainly have enough money and just might outraise Bill Eigel and Mike Elam.
Well, isn't he bumping up against $1 million?
He's got to be. Yeah, I believe he had over $500,000. And where the numbers get murky is sometimes these guys dump a bunch of money in as a loan to the campaign out of personal money. And it depends on if you think they'll actually spend the money or not. But I believe that Mr. Law didn't give himself a big loan. I believe he's actually raised a lot of this money. And I'd be remiss if I didn't point out, Brad, I went back and looked. And AG Andrew Bailey has appeared at other fundraisers for Mr. Law as well. So it appears, I'm guessing, that they know each other from the AG and attorney world, and that would explain Bailey's apparent support for Jason Law here.
Well, at least he had it in St. Charles County because his other fundraisers were all in St. Louis County. Remember, he had one.
And it was at a country club, right, Brad?
Well, he had the first one. Well, the first one was not a fundraiser. You told me the story. Some guy from Town and Country wrote a $400,000 check. Wasn't that the deal?
Yeah, you're right. But you pointed out that he had it at a largely Jewish country club, right?
Meadowbrook Country Club out in West County. And the reason.
Yeah, and as I pointed out, Brad, another thing that defines professionals from amateurs is that you know that you're not limited to raising money in your own county. So there's money in St. Louis County, and folks from the city will come out here and get money. And if there's money in St. Charles County, folks from St. Louis County will go out there and get money too. So you're not confined to raising money in the jurisdiction in which you're running.
Well, and even to the point where, like with Bob Onder, you can run in, you can live in one congressional district and live in, and live in another one, and that doesn't preclude you. I mean, it'd just be like Bob Onder could live in Illinois and run for Missouri CD3, right? Isn't that
why not? I think it's great, and it appears, Brad, that voters had that information before the primary and chose Mr. Onder convincingly, didn't they?
Well, I'm still asking the question, John, which nobody has answered. Did he move?
That would be a great question for him, Brad. But I don't think, since we don't have guests on the show, we're not going to ask him that. If you would like for me to waste 60 seconds of time and ask somebody who knows, I can do that for you and have the answer for you Monday.
How are you going to do that?
Are you joking?
No. I mean, are you going to call? I know you're going to call your lobbyist friend from Ameren. Is that who you're going to call?
Oh, Brad, you know who's not a lobbyist? The subject of story number 2.
There's stories to number 2.
Hold on a minute. I hit 2 buttons at the same time.
Up a notch to number 2.
That's better.
The cliche goes, when God or the Pope or Pope Trump closes one door, he opens another. And that seems to be the case for our dear Catholic friend, Ed Martin. Yes, Ed Martin's name was pulled by President Trump. He's not going to stay on as U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C. anymore. But lo and behold, Pope Trump opened another door for our friend Ed Martin. Ed Martin is now becoming director of the department's weaponization working group, and will also be associate deputy attorney general and pardon attorney. You say, John, I went to school in the 1930s like Brad Hildebrand, and I don't remember a weaponization working group. Well, President Trump has created this working group to look at all the ways that President Biden used lawfare and other mechanisms of the government to wreak havoc and create war on patriotic Americans. This appears to be a big silver lining in a cloud for Ed Martin. You know, one door closed, another one opens, and uniquely it appears as though Ed Martin, as he's going to be President Trump's pardon attorney, will now be able to pardon more people who were involved in that January 6th panty raid at the Capitol. You know, people who've been charged with ridiculous things who didn't do much. Ed Martin's going to be able to officially give them a pardon now. So a big defeat for Ed yesterday. And in fact, there's a really high quality piece posted by Jason Rosenbaum on St. Louis Public Radio early yesterday afternoon that details a little bit about the Martin nomination getting torpedoed. But this piece in the Post-Dispatch by the great Mark Schlinkman, the Schlinkmeister General, details the new stuff that Ed Martin's going to be doing. So good news for Ed.
I thought that Trump already pardoned the J6 crew, no?
That's a great question, Brad. So Mr. Schlinkman brings up in his piece that Trump has pardoned most of the more than 1,500 riot defendants, but there's still some that are remaining out there. And, you know, Ed's going to take a critical look at those folks and see who deserves a pardon and who doesn't. I knew something great was happening when I saw on X, Ed Martin simply tweeted, "Eagle soars." And I thought, wow, did he get the nomination? Did something new happen? No, he just got a brand new post.
Interesting. But you know what the problem is? You know what Trump's going to do?
Ooh, what's he going to do, Brad?
Trump's wiping out Fox News because he's nominated another Fox News personality, commentator, whatever you want to call it, to the government. There won't be anybody left on Fox News Channel.
I saw that. So guess what? They're going to have to hire another babe with great legs to sit on camera so that people like you and me watch it in the doctor's office, right, Brad?
No.
I mean, they all have some gams on them.
No.
Do you ever sit around watching Fox Business? I know you usually I know you're not a TV guy and you're more of a YouTube guy. But have you ever seen Fox Business? You ever seen the gams on some of those women?
John, you mentioned something about sitting around in doctor's office. And with my youngest son, when we were, my youngest son's had some health issues, and I was taking him to numerous doctors. The running joke that my youngest son and I had, that every doctor's office we had, there was a couple TV, at least one TV monitor, sometimes more than one. And it was always on HGTV, no matter where.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
No matter where we went, was going like, okay, what are we going to watch today, Drew, on HGTV? Because, and the funny thing was, we would almost do like a bet, but we wouldn't place any money because we knew, we both bet on the same thing. We both bet, yeah, HGTV, Dad. And we'd show up, and sure enough, HGTV. We never saw it Fox News in any of the doctor's offices. Because I think
there's a terrific meme, Brad, real quick, of HGTV that's a few years old, but it's right up your alley. And it shows us a screenshot from HGTV, and it's a little bit embellished, but it says, like, they'll be house hunting, and there'll be a teacher whose annual salary is $40,000 and a web developer who makes $51,000. And they say, and our home budget is $2.3 million.
Well, that's
some girl math right there, isn't
right?
it? Like, let's just go hugely into debt. So that we can have a beautiful home.
Well, but the point of that is that there's no mortgage company that's going to give you that loan, you know what I mean, unless you put down like 80% or something like that.
I think you're biased by the fact that you run radio stations and you're used to getting grabbed by the scruff of your neck and having the Eckelkamps toss you out of their bank.
No, the Eckelkamps have been very nice to me. They're one of our clients here in the radio station, and I can't say enough good things
that's
about it.
been a unique turn lately here
No,
at
no,
Bank
no,
of
no.
Washington. You know what's another big turn? Story number one.
No, seriously. They've been with me since I've owned the station, 27 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that you had different feelings about them. I'm mistaken then, Brad.
Oh, no. Matter of fact,
And they don't own any other radio stations or fund any other radio stations?
yeah, but they're competitors. But we have a good relationship. I mean, it's
There
not.
we go. That's great. And another great relationship with 3 minutes left is in story number one.
It's not like Tracy Ellis where she sends me cease and desist orders. You know what I'm saying?
The number one.
Straight out of Joplin, Missouri, KZRG Radio. Brad, I'm sure you'll have feelings about one element of this story, but we can get to that at the very end. State Representative Ben Baker has left his seat in the Missouri legislature because he got tapped on the shoulder by President Donald Trump, and he will be leading the Rural Missouri Development arm of the USDA here in the state of Missouri. Now, if you're a normal functioning human being, you probably have no idea what the rural development side does. Here's Ben Baker's own words on the radio with Morning News Watch. This is the rural development side of the USDA. So there's a lot of grants. There's loans like single family housing loans. There are multifamily housing loans. There are infrastructure projects, and there's grants that help for things like water systems. Mr. Baker goes on to point out that there are 25 local USDA offices across the state of Missouri. Brad, I looked it up. There's even one in Wentzville. So what Mr. Baker is going to do is he's going to oversee a bunch of these projects. There's a bunch of USDA projects that do things for like healthy drinking water. I went to their website this morning on the Missouri page, and they do things like in a rural area, fund projects that improve drinking water. They do a lot of farm service agency loans, things like that. So it is a great opportunity by Representative Baker. It required him to leave his post in the legislature. He officially resigned, I believe, on Sunday. And so now that seat is open in the Joplin area. But this is a great opportunity for Ben Baker. And, there's a cavalcade of really influential Missourians in the White House or taking federal posts here in Missouri representing the Trump administration. So another member of the Missouri Mafia and the Trump administration.
This is very problematic to me.
And why is that, Brad?
Well, it's problematic in the respect that they should take the Josh Hawley rule that you're never going to take a job as a stepping stone to another job. I mean, like, we still have Josh Hawley as our attorney general. I mean, he would never think about running for Senate because of the fact that would be on the stair step or the ladder to another job. There's no way. And furthermore,
stepping stone is the
stepping stone. Okay. Furthermore, I believe, I seriously, I do believe this is, I have a problem with this. If you get elected, I think you owe it to your citizens to complete your term. I really do.
Absolutely not. And you've covered that many times, Brad. And one angle that we haven't discussed is Ben Baker, as a humble man, is not so arrogant as to think that he's the only person in the Joplin or Neosho, particularly Neosho area, that can represent the people of his district in Jefferson City. He's not so arrogant as to say, well, the people elected me. I'm the only one who can do this job until the next election. And also, Brad, there's a lot of people, I think, Republicans and Democrats in Jeff City, who might be, fond of using necessity as a virtue. So, Brad, if you happen to know an old guy that says, I'm never going to retire, retirement kills people, I'm going to work till the day I die, they act like that's virtuous. But it's actually a necessity. They can't afford to retire. So they make up some story about, I don't want to be on a yacht in Florida. I want to work my fingers to the bone until I die. Necessity and a virtue. A lot of people in Jeff City do not have the quality of experience, personality, leadership to ever get an appointment from Donald Trump, to ever get a post from Mike Kehoe. So they sit around and say, I would never leave my post early. It's an honor to serve. I got to serve out my term. Guess what? You'll never get asked to do anything important. So complain about Ben Baker and whine about him and know that you'll never be tapped for something like this.
John,
I don't mean you, Brad. I mean other people in Jeff City.
you're always nice to me, John. I appreciate that.
Thank
You never refer to me. I know how that goes. But what you don't know is, and what Scott Fawn doesn't know, that Mike Kehoe has found this problematic. And he
has. What's he do? What's he gonna do about it?
Well, he's hired someone new that when they are tapped to go to the federal government, this new state employee goes and has a talk with this person. You know who this person is?
Who is it, Brad?
This is the new guy hired by Mike Kehoe that when, like, for example, when what's his name? Ben Baker, is that his name?
Ben Baker, that's right.
When Ben Baker decides, Mr. Kehoe, I'm going to leave my position here as a state senator, and I'm going to move to a job with USDA. And Mike Kehoe has a little button on his desk, and the door opens, and this guy walks in.
And you shall feel the pythons, brother.
And then they go, well, maybe Mike, Mr. Kehoe, maybe I will stay as state senator. And he reconsiders his choice. No?
And then he swills some Great American beer, some Hulk Hogan Great American beer, and everybody's on their way. They get in their golf cart and they drive back to Cottleville.
And hopefully John Elway's not driving the golf cart. But, okay, we have to take a break.